mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's your mom and dad. And here's the bottom line. Today, we're talking Traitors episodes 9 and 10. So if you haven't seen episode 10 and you don't want any sort of spoilers, well, then here's your warning. But I need to say something. And before I say it, I need to make something very clear. After this comes out of my mouth, I do believe I need a priest to like exorcise the demons out of me or douse me in holy water
You've been
or
bewitched.
baptize me. But family,
It's kind of hot.
family, I miss Tom Sandoval.
Yep.
I miss Tom
miss him.
Sandoval.
Listen, I mean,
It's like a splinter that you think you want out, but then you take it out and you're gushing blood. Like maybe I should have kept the splinter in.
or it's like,
you know what I mean?
It's like you realize that splinter was kind of your buddy. It like gave you character. It gave you like a personality.
I'd look down and it'd be
when
like,
you were
oh,
at parties,
man.
you had something to talk about.
Yeah, check out this horrific splinter stuck
now
in
you're
me,
just
but now
a
it's gone.
splinterless loser. You know what I mean? It's like the affliction was the journey. The affliction was you grew to love the affliction. It's Stockholm syndrome.
You know what? It's true. You know what it kind of is like? You know, especially when you're younger and you're like with a group of friends, and it's not good, fam, but like there's that person in the
The
group
one toxic
that
friend.
you always talk like shit on.
Right.
And then when they're gone, all of a sudden, and you're like, I want them to go, but then all of a sudden, once they go,
Right.
then you and your friends, you're like, do we even have a friendship? We don't even have anything to talk about anymore.
Sure. I think there's that. To be honest with you, for me, what I find,
Yeah.
my attraction toward him
Yeah.
as a person has more to do with the fact of like, my analogy would be you have a friend group and one of your friends is that loose cannon, toxic relationships exploding.
Sure.
And they're always coming into the friend group reporting some insane stuff in their life. And you're just kind of like using it like entertainment. You're like, this is insane. And they say the craziest stuff. They act insane.
You're
but
always
kinda like-
apologizing for them. You're like, I'm
you're always-
not really good
I'm
friends
not
with
like
them.
But
Don't.
there is this sense of like, but you bring an otherworldly entertainment in my life that every time you meet up for dinner with everyone, like we're going to get something. They're going to
That's
say
true.
something crazy. And I do feel like, and also the changes with like how they change. Like every time they show up, it's like they're either kind of like sad, not talking, or they're like insane and saying
most
crazy
arrogant,
stuff, or
yeah.
arrogant, or super fake humble, or like I just am different now. And then the second something changes, they're back to their old ways. Like, because you can kind of like then make bets on like how long are they going to do this before they change. Like I will say, listen, these shows, when normal people are in these shows, you kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
But you realize the value of these characters. You realize like why you watched Vanderpump in the first place. It wasn't to watch
Good people do good
normal good
things.
people do good things. You're like, I want to watch these unhinged crazy people act like I hope they act. And then you know, so it's like he is the epitome of when someone says, when they just show up one day and go, I'm different now. I'm mysterious now. I'm
Sherlock
quiet.
now.
I'm calm, calculated.
As he said at the very end, he said, I believe I was a pleasure to work with.
Yes. Yes.
If all of us could love ourselves just 1/100th of as much as Tom Sandoval loves himself, I believe we might be a little happier, you know? And yes.
I think he looks at the world as like, they're just trying to make me not love myself. And I just keep forgetting to love myself.
I feel like he maybe looks at the world as like, the world is like playing a cute little cat and mouse game with me. Like I know the entire world loves me and is obsessed with me, but they are playing this cute little like, oh, but we don't like you. But it's like, I know deep down that you're all obsessed with me. And honest to God, what did this season of Traitors do? Like I said, here I am missing Tom Sandoval. And now family, I know you're all gone now. You've turned the episode off.
Yeah. Well, I think what makes him so captivating too is how authentic it is. Like people will play this character where they're like, I'm an ego or I'm this or I'm that.
No, this is just him.
His personality
He's the most
and his shit
egotistical.
is so authentic. Like he believes it. So I think that authenticity about what he is and who he is addicting to watch, because you're kind of like, you can't fake this.
It's true.
This is so deep.
And I do have something to report, family. So I mentioned in the last episode that I went out to a karaoke for one of my besties' birthdays.
Yes.
And I will let you know, on this Hollywood night, we ran into Tom Sandoval.
Yes.
And Tom Sandoval was there, and he was karaokeing. Okay. And so if any of you all
did karaoke with Tom Sandoval.
Well, not really.
I mean, like you were trading songs, like he would do, and then you do a song.
I had the pleasure of watching.
Yes.
I don't know if you all recall the doll episode of Traitors and his musical stylings, but
Yes.
I had the pleasure of hearing the musical stylings
In person, live.
live in person. And I
No
will
tickets.
say, he's really letting his art flow through him on
Yes.
these karaoke nights. He's really exploring his artistic qualities. And I need you all to know that indeed, the song that he chose to sing on this karaoke night was Creed's "Can You Take Me Higher?"
Wow.
Which our own father here.
I mean, which I covered first. We're not going to say that. We're going to say that I was there first.
So when you feel lost and alone now watching these new Traitors episodes, perhaps you're like us and you're like, I kind of miss Tom. Just picture him out karaokeing, singing, "Can you take me higher?" And really, really giving all that he has to the floor of the karaoke stage. And yeah, it just kind of reminds me of in Peter Pan.
Yeah. By the way, how serious did he take it? Was it like super serious, or was there a playfulness in it? Because this is the wild, right? Like this wasn't like a packed bar. There wasn't like 300 people. There was like
it was
very few
it was
people,
a quiet
wasn't
night.
it?
It was a quiet night. If 1 is the least serious and 10
If
is
1 is like drunkenly going up and being like, I don't even know the word, and 10 is like, and we drink my tea, preparing for this. Where was he?
Yeah, 10.
Whoa.
A 10 for
like
sure.
not laughing at all.
No.
From start to finish, face was
Evan,
blank.
I don't know if you heard what I said. This was an artistic This was art flowing through his body. It was a 10 in seriousness.
And wasn't this on like a Tuesday? Like this wasn't even like a Saturday. This
was a
like
Monday.
This was like this is a work week.
It was a
move.
Monday. It made me think of, in Peter Pan,
Yeah.
when they say when a child refuses to believe in a fairy dies.
Yeah.
What I need everyone to know is when anyone out there refuses to accept that Tom Sandoval is entertaining, he sings Higher from Creed at a karaoke night one more time.
Dead serious.
Just know that
by himself.
If you refuse to say that Tom Sandoval was entertaining on this season of Traitors, know that the universe then makes him sing another rendition of Higher by Creed karaoke. So I just
incredible.
know everybody know that.
They say don't meet your heroes, but you can meet Sandoval and know that you'll get the exact same experience. You know what I mean? Some people say like, oh, you know what I mean? Like I have this idea of this person. I met him in person. He's exactly what you think he is. And it's they just captured on camera.
I
wonder how many there's, you know what's crazy to think about? How many Tom Sandovals are out there that are not on reality TV shows.
Oh, we need to do a search.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of
there's
people.
There's got to be a lot
they
out
found
there.
him.
I think he
And
would
then
be.
they just put the camera on him.
I think he'd be really mad to hear you say that because
That's
you're just
true.
taking
He
away
doesn't like
his
that.
uniqueness. You just really.
Sorry,
that's
Tom.
like the ultimate
That's
offense.
the
to
ultimate
Tom
diss to
Sandoval,
say
that
there's a bunch of
many
them
Tom
out there.
Sandovals.
Oh no, there probably actually isn't. It's a very unique character. Well,
But, you
R.I.P. You know,
He's gone.
it was.
And-
He made it pretty far though. I am grateful for as long as he made it.
We thought he was going to win, and I think that's a little bit what got in my head, as I had convinced myself he was going to
That's a
win,
little
and
too
I was
far.
feeling
I think we
quite
got a little too
entertained because it's a bit. You know what I mean? This whole
course.
thing became a bit, and we're like, we need him to win as the bit. As the bit.
Because could you imagine if he would have won? He did one good thing on the show, and the ego exploded.
Oh.
I would have loved to see him win the whole thing, and just what would have come next.
You know those
what?
wrestling, those
yeah.
massive wrestling belts? He would have had one made that
100%.
said winner of Traitor season 3
Got it
and
car wrapped.
everywhere. And
Crowns.
we'd hear about it for years to come.
Open up a restaurant just
Truly
called
years.
The Traitor.
I do think though this was the best call he could have made, was going on this show.
Yes.
Because when he went on this show, everyone was angry.
Yes.
And we all were. You know what I mean? Now, granted, we were excited because we're like, this is going to be
bring entertainment,
so entertaining.
sure.
But everyone was upset. And now I do feel like a majority of people, listen, family, do we still think he's a terrible person? Sure.
Of course. But that's
But of course.
that's why we're watching.
My eyes are pleased watching the screen and my eyes feel lonely when he is not.
Agreed.
So it just, unfortunately, it just
You'll be
is
missed
how
on
it
the
is.
show.
It is how it is.
We'll see you at karaoke, big guy. We'll see you at karaoke.
Can you take me higher? Anywho, family, we are here to talk about Traitors episodes 9 and 10. I believe the next episodes are going to be the finale and the reunion. This season has been spicy, spicy, spicy. And these 2 episodes had some pretty intense moments of betrayal and twists and turns. And
I think for me, that the first time I felt like a guttural response, not just like an entertaining response, but like a personal response.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm feeling emotion about
I feel
this.
you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about why in just a moment, but let's take a quick pause before we officially dive in. So family, we all know that the Traitors is known for displaying the cast's fashion, but I wonder when Iva is running around during these missions or at the Roundtable, is he comfortable in those slacks? I doubt it, because you gotta sacrifice comfort for style. That is until Public Rec came along. Public Rec pants are chic and stylish pants you can wear to a fancy business meeting or on the golf course or at the round table, but they feel like you're wearing sweats. It's like secret sweatpants, okay? That's how comfortable they are. With Public Rec, you no longer have to choose between comfort and style. I would know because I steal Evan's Public Rec pants on the regular. Also, there are their shorts and their hoodies and more, and they feel like butter. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code MOMDAD20 at checkout.
Genuinely, I have never had a pair of pants more comfortable than my Public Rec pants.
They're the most comfy.
insane. They are the only pants I'll wear to golf now because they don't bunch up. They feel like sweats. And they look classy too, which is super, super nice. Their proprietary blend of performance materials provides the perfect combination of breathability and stretch while still holding its form. You'll never want to take them off. You could sleep in them happily. And here's the thing. Usually when you order comfortable pants, you only get to pick from sizes like small, XL, etc. But with Public Rec pants, you get to select the exact width and length you need. Whether you're a 30 by 30 or a 44 by 36, you can find your perfect fitting pants.
And I love getting Evan Public Rec pants because they look good. They look good. He wore a pair out on our date night the other night. Very nice, very nice. And again, Public Rec also offers shorts and hoodies and shirts. You have to check out their website. They have so many amazing pieces. Comfortable enough for the couch, sharp enough for the city. For a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code MOMDAD20 at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com, use code MOMDAD20, and you're all set. Oh, and when they ask you how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps us out. Upgrade to Public Rec and feel the difference. Again, that's publicrec.com and use code MOMDAD20 at checkout. Okay, family, let us get into the recap of episode 9 and 10. When you said you had a guttural reaction, I'm assuming that it involves the Carolyn Danielle situation.
Yeah.
And then the continuation of that on.
Yeah.
Because our sweet Carolyn, I was getting so defensive for her.
Well, you know what it is like Carolyn said it best when she left. And she said, I never was comfortable being a traitor.
I know she didn't want to be a traitor.
Like, she's just a sweet, like, she's got all these tattoos and she's got like this kind of like,
she's got this rock and roll
fashion,
vibe.
rock and roll. But she really is like sweetheart, like so sweet.
She's just a love bug.
And she was just out of her depth being a traitor. Like, you could tell she was never comfortable in it.
No.
And the fact that like, it was betrayal right away and everyone was betraying each other. She just never, I don't think she had very much fun because she was just stressed the whole time.
Well, she said that in her exit speech. She was just like, well, now I know being a traitor is not fun.
Yeah.
You know, and what was so like devastating to me was the fact that she just was really open, especially at the end, about how she's like, I never fit in. People always think I'm weird. because she's like a kooky, fun, but
She
she is so charming and lovely and wonderful.
And she's just eccentric and fun.
And I think Carolyn, the world has now seen more of you, and they love you. And I'm sure she's got so many people now who are just like, cheering her on. But that was heartbreaking to me, where she just felt like so ostracized, and she always feels that way and has always felt that way, and then felt that way even on the show. And like you said, I don't think she was comfortable being a traitor. And the thing with Danielle, and you and I talked about this, you mentioned this on our last episode, and it really hit me this episode after you said that. I was like, that's what it is. I think the reason, because normally I root for the traitors.
Of course.
I like the traitors. I want to have the like explosion of drama, all this, but I want the faithfuls to win now. And it's because I think that Danielle is I'll give this to Danielle, very entertaining.
Yes.
A very entertaining traitor to watch this entire time. We're getting the drama. We're getting, some wild decisions, some really good decisions, all of it. But the thing that makes me not want to root for her as a traitor is what you mentioned, where in the ITMs, she isn't honest. So I feel like as an audience member, I'm not really getting the real story of what's going on, because most everybody else, in front of everyone's faces, they're lying, they're deceiving.
Right.
And during that, I'm like, yes, it's the traitors, lie, deceive. That's what we're supposed to do. And I don't ever fault anybody for playing the game. But when we're in the ITMs, I feel like she's not being honest with us as the audience, because she'll be like, I'm going to take Carolyn to the very end. We're going to win this together. 2 seconds later, full betrayal. Or like, I'm just heartbroken to do this. And you're like, yeah, but you're betraying people every 2 seconds. Like, I don't believe you anymore. Like, I don't believe you. So as the audience, I feel like it's just kind of like, I feel like she's being a traitor to us. Like, I want to be a part of it.
Well, we've never seen anyone lie all the way through the experience.
Yeah.
There's always two personalities, like you said. There's always the ITM
it's the
personality.
ITM, what you're giving the audience. Yeah.
And then there's always kind of the weird thing too is that there's always a sense of this is a game. Mm-hmm. With Danielle, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like real life. Everyone else is kind of like relaxed in it a little bit, knowing this is all a game. And they get a little stressed out. They have their moments, and then they're like, yeah, well, hopefully they vote for me. But she like is as emotional when she's selling a lie as she is in ITMs when she's like supposedly telling the truth. So she's like in the round table bawling about something, and then like bawling about a full-blown lie. Like, how could you call me a traitor? And you're like, okay, got it. Right. You're doing the emotional lie thing.
Sure.
But then like in the ITM going like, I could never betray Brittany. And you're like, what is happening? Like you're equally emotional about opposing lies.
See, when you said like, you think it's real, I think
I'm like, is she so wrapped up in her own lies that she's like believing?
I think
like,
she's just playing a game in a way we've never seen it. I think it's a full game. I think she's gaming the faithfuls. I think she's gaming the other traitors. And I really think she's gaming the audience. Like, I genuinely believe it's like...
Is she method acting?
I think perhaps.
It's kind of like method.
I think perhaps.
It's like where you become the character
I don't think that this is like, oh, this is all real. I think it's literally, it's a method acting, and she's also gaming us in a way we've never seen on the show before.
Because her manipulation is Olympic.
It is Olympic.
I mean, she's an Olympic level manipulator.
When she later in episode 10 is talking to Dylan.
Bro.
I was like, if I was Dylan, I'd be like,
now, here's what I'll say.
I'd fully break.
Here's
I'd
what
be
I'll
like,
say.
Whatever you want, Danielle. You've got it.
There must be something in person about Danielle that's not being translated on the screen. Because in my opinion, every time she has one-on-ones where she's talking to someone, and every time she has a performance at the round table, in my opinion, it's so over the top and no one else is acting like this that it feels like a lie. Does that make sense?
I feel like her
the collapsing on the ground, the begging
wild.
for life, all this stuff. How could you do this to me? It's so dramatic that I would think everyone would go red flags, but everyone goes, she's the most trustworthy person here. And I'm going, this is crazy. Do you not see that these reactions are so over the top?
It seems like she spent a lot of time building relationships with everyone in that house, because we heard it everyone's saying they trust her. Dylan, who
Right.
has a great, traitor radar, is like, I fully trust her.
There must be something, the in-person experience with her that kind of bewitches you a lot more than, because the camera only shows the high reactions, and I'm going to myself like, everyone else is kind of relaxed. She's doing these like major Hollywood stunts, and everyone's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm going like,
I feel like her performances at the Roundtable are incredible. I think she handles the Roundtable incredibly, but it's those like the collapsing on the floor, it's the big crying about everything that I'd be just like how everyone gets suspicious and be like, this is a lot.
This is a lot.
Now I will say something that I did hear. So I saw, and I didn't watch the entire episode, so I'm very sorry if I'm like misquoting something, but I did see a clip from Caitlin Bristow's Off the Vine podcast. She had Chrishell on.
Okay.
And Chrishell said something that they didn't show, that her and the other cast members were shocked that they didn't show on screen, was that Danielle was from the beginning going around swearing on her grandchildren that she was a faithful.
Like, that's crazy.
She was a faithful. So Chrishell was saying that post the show,
dude.
a lot of people were very upset by that.
When someone's going around like doing that level of swearing, you're
swearing
like,
on your
this is,
grandchildren.
and then early on in the show, you're like, of course they're faithful. No one would go this hard.
That's kind of what Chrishell was alluding to. It's like, well, when someone swears on their grandchildren, we're a little bit like, well, obviously.
No one else is doing that. Like, you must be.
So we saw Bob the drag queen swear to God and then have that iconic exit line. He's like, well, I don't believe in God.
Right.
So you're like, but swearing on your grandchildren. And so Chrishell mentioned that she thinks that that's going to be something that really, and who knows if they'll air it, but is going to get brought up at the reunion because people had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Now, after they found out that, ultimately that Danielle is, a traitor once
If you
the show
thought
ends
there
or
was
whatever.
a line between TV and reality, she pushed it. She's pushing it to the limit.
Swear
dude.
to your grandchildren.
Just swear to your grandchildren and then swear to the audience, swear on ITMs to like be fake balling, or you don't even know what's real, what's not real.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say. Maybe it does take this level to win. They always talk about the greats.
Yeah.
Like the Michael Jordans.
They give it all.
They're like,
the greats.
all that matters is the winning.
Yes.
Right? So Wayne Gretzky.
The legends.
It's like you talk about them and they're like, I didn't care about anything other than winning.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, because look at it. She's still here.
She's still here.
Who we thought were some legends. Bob.
Yeah.
Rob. Gone. They didn't go full method.
Danielle just got a full
she's
method.
The Daniel Day-Lewis of Traitors.
The Danielle Day-Lewis.
Danielle Day-Lewis.
She's gone full method.
Whoa. To where you're like, they talk about like, oh yeah, I met him on set and he wouldn't even talk to me because he's a bad guy in the movie.
Yeah.
So she's a villain in this movie and she's going, I'm going all the way.
She's going all in, including telling the audience,
and
that
because
she's betraying.
Because of that, I want to say this. She's so radically method. I need her to like, she's a villain to me.
Yeah.
In like real life. Generally, I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun to watch. Now I'm like, she's got to go down. Get her.
I know.
Because she's so
like I said,
convincingly a villain.
now I want the faithfuls to win.
And I've never wanted that.
I always want
That's
the
a
traitors
first.
to win. I always want the traitors to win. But you know what?
Man, visceral.
She's going to have to deal with some serious fallout at the reunion. And I love my Carolyn. And so I don't want her to feel sad or, not included in the process. But you got to give it as a TV show. You got to give respect to Danielle because she is serving getting reactions. Because like you said, I'm feeling passionate, more passionate than I typically do towards the end of this show. I get more passionate in like the beginning, middle, and then the end I start to taper out. I'm really passionate now because she's eliciting, all these feelings with her gameplay.
Well played, Danielle.
Well played,
You are
Danielle.
eliciting reactions. I will say that.
It's true.
I'm getting removed from the fact that this isn't even a game.
It's a TV
And I'm like, this is wrong, Danielle, stop it. Because I can't read her.
Completely. Okay, so episode 9, we are left with Carolyn and Danielle at the turret, and we see that Danielle, the offering is they can bring on a new player to be a traitor, or they can murder someone. And Danielle's like, we need Brittany. Carolyn's obviously like, absolutely not.
Yeah, the fact that she even offered Brittany's hilarious.
I know,
Like to
you're
think that Carolyn's
like, no, and
like, what?
genuinely, Carolyn shuts down every idea.
Yeah. She's like, I can't trust you. Even if your idea is good, we're not doing it.
Even when Danielle was bringing, she was like, okay, well, what about this? For no reason, Carolyn would be like, no. She's like, I don't trust
should murder Alan.
anything.
They're like, that's not an option.
It's not an option, Carolyn. Also saw a clip of Carolyn talking and on a podcast, and I'm so sorry, I don't know the name of it, or maybe it was an interview, but the interviewer was asking her, who were you closest to in the house?
Yeah.
And she said Tom Sandoval. And that just made me laugh so hard because, again,
she said I was a soft spot for him.
We talked about the two of them getting to the end and how wild vocally they would be back and forth.
Gosh.
Where she's like, Tom, I don't know who I should choose. I'm
like,
not
man,
sure.
listen, you don't even worry about it. I'll put you on my back and take you to the end, man.
I feel like you are one of the strongest players in here, Tom, and they don't give you credit.
No one understands me, man. Listen, it wasn't even my fault. The affair wasn't even my fault, man. These women are too tempting.
You're ruining
These
it
women are
again
too
for me.
tempting, man. It's not I'm just a guy. What do you want me to do?
But the idea of the two of them being besties, and we saw Tom defending her at the round table. I'm like, I wish
Dylan even in the middle of the episode said, I know that she has a soft spot for Tom. So they clearly were hanging out and being on the friendly.
Hey, where's the footage?
Where's the podcast? I mean, they need to start a podcast.
Stop right now.
That's one I will watch for sure.
I need this. But like, where's the footage of their best friendship? We didn't ever see them together once. Maybe we had like minutes here and there, but I feel like, we were seeing all of Dylan and Rob's best friendships. We saw the Bambi's best friendships. Where was Carolyn and Tom?
I know.
Where were they?
Where?
But Danielle, she's just basically like, fine, I'm done. I'll make all these sacrifices for you. I've made all of them. It's like, Danielle, stop making Carolyn feel this way.
You just tried to kill her 19
you fully
times.
threw her under the bus, lied about her multiple times, and now you're acting exasperated in the turret that she doesn't trust you. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Wildness. So the next day at breakfast, the first people in are Gabby and Carolyn.
Just real quick, I did love when they did the quick scenes where they would shoot to the people they're talking about, and then Dylan was doing like gymnastics.
He was?
You didn't see that?
No.
So how they shoot to the clips of them?
Yeah.
And like while they're talking about them, they're like in the mirror doing something.
Yeah.
So like Tom's like combing his hair.
But of course.
Sam's like, lifting a weight.
Or in the shower. I'm like, you guys,
like
enough with the shower scenes with Sam.
Sorry. But they cut to Dylan, and Dylan's on the like uneven, like the even parallel bars doing like flutter kicks it was like
was like
a
a
very
pommel
intense
horse
wild
moment?
workout. Yeah. It was just like,
Dylan,
it was random.
Dylan went for me as enemy number one. He started this show as enemy number one because he figured my Lord and Savior Bob the drag queen out too quickly.
Sure.
But I just have to say, Dylan is wonderful.
Yeah, he is. He's like super hot and super sweet and super cool.
He's the type of guy that if one of my friends was like, hey, I'm dating this guy, I'd be like, obviously he's a good looking, a very attractive guy, but I'm just talking about like,
he doesn't, because he's
it
weirdly
seems like personality wise and like heart wise.
He's weirdly like strong and smart, but not egotistical about it.
Mm-hmm. He's like a leader, but like a humble leader.
We're kind of hot for Dylan.
We're kind of hot for Dylan.
Shocker. I mean, the guy's
surprise,
like,
surprise. Like, but he's the person who, again, I'm not even talking about the looks.
You know what he is? Boyfriend material.
That's what I was going to say.
What is this made out of? Boyfriend material.
Boyfriend material. Aside from the looks, a friend of mine brings a guy like that with his personality around. I'm like,
he's a winner.
This is good news. These are all green flags. The way that he even handled just his relationships with some of the different players in the house, but then the way that he was processing with Carolyn and then the guilt he felt because of how she was hurting. I was just like, this is a good guy, everybody.
Yep, I agree.
But the next day at breakfast, the first two people who come in are Gabby and Carolyn. And that's when Gabby lets Carolyn know that she's on to Danielle. Mm-hmm. So Carolyn's like, yes, Gabby's one of her girls. They seem to really connect. Gabby loves Carolyn. Yes. It's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness Gabby is on to Carolyn. Tom comes in, he's in a great mood because he was convinced he was going to. Yeah,
he's like, I'm so dangerous that like you would think they would want to cut the head of the dragon off.
But they do not get rid of Tom. They murder Sam.
Which is just kind of, I guess he showed a little bit of something the episode before. That was the first time, but
Yeah, I
a little
wonder
bit of
if-
a nothing burger to do that. It was kind of like just a way to kind of
I wonder if
eliminate
he
someone.
regrets, though, coming out with some good ideas. Because he's like, I finally spoke up and then they got rid of me.
He should have just been the hot dumb guy. He should have played that role. He kind of spoke up, kind of became hotter, smarter guy. Bad move. Got him killed immediately.
Iva is very sad that his bestie is
I
gone.
know.
But yeah. Oh, quick note: when Alan comes in, number one, you know that Tom is living for Alan's kilt, because I don't know if you know, but Tom frequents a kilt.
He frequents a kilt.
But this ponytail that Alan had,
It was what? Who's the famous movie? The kid has the hair that does this.
Little Rascals?
Little Rascals.
It was Little
hair.
Rascals.
Yes.
I wrote, it reminds me of Baby Ember, because she didn't used to have a lot of hair, and so I would put it up in one tiny little ponytail. I always support the fashion choices. I always am like gooped, gagged.
Yeah.
Just drooling over Alan's fashion. He is a literal icon. This was questionable to me.
Hair.
I said, this hair is...
It almost looks like they were putting it up like that while they were getting him ready.
Well,
and then he's like, there's something about this.
I think that's what it was, because later on he had all the chess pieces on his hair.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if they like put the chess pieces over.
Like it mounted on the Little Rascals hair.
Mounted on, because I was like, I love everything Alan dons.
Mm-hmm.
The hair, the clothes, the fashions,
Legend.
the glasses, everything is perfection. This Little Rascals hair, I feel like we're getting a little out of control.
It's starting to get to like modern art world where you're like, there's a toilet in the middle of a room and you're like, am I the idiot? Am I missing something? I don't want to say anything because then I'll be mocked. But like, I don't know if that's a real toilet that I can use, or if that's a part of the thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm a little afraid.
I agree. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's like
an idiot. When something's so like basic but like obvious, and people are going, oh, that's very cool.
Yes.
You're like, I guess I'm just dumb. I don't know what's going on.
I feel like I'm missing something.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, family, before we dive into more of this episode, let's take one more quick pause. So, listen, our kiddo loves watching the Traitors so much. What she didn't used to love was taking her daily vitamins.
Oh, yeah.
She said they tasted gross, but the only other options we knew of vitamin-wise were no good, okay? Because typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives. And that is why Haya created a super-powered, chewable vitamin. And since we have discovered Haya vitamins, Ember loves taking her vitamins. She asks for them herself every morning. She says they taste great. Haya is perfect for picky eaters.
Yeah, it's such a huge win for parents.
Yeah.
Like Jess said, while many children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar, which is known to contribute to a variety of health issues, Haya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives, but still tastes great. Haya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our little ones need. Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals that help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more.
And fam, are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Well, Haya now has kids' daily greens plus superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. Haya is it's simply the best. And they're designed for kids 2 and up and sent straight to your door, so parents have one less thing to worry about. Also, you get this cool bottle with your first order, and then they send you eco-friendly refills every single month. The first bottle that we got, Ember it came with stickers. And so Ember then got to design the bottle herself, which she loved. She felt like more connected to it because it had her own personality to it. And she wanted to take her vitamins even more in the morning. They've thought of it all, truly. So we worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/mom-and-dad. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to HIYAHEALTH.com/mom and dad. That's hayahealth.com/mom and dad, and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, so before they leave to go on their mission, a few things go down. Number one, Dylan, our smart BB boy, he figures out, he's like, the fact that I'm still here means that the traitors are someone who trusts me and I trust, and they're going to keep me around to the very end to betray me. And I'm like, Dylan, you're so smart.
God, that's a really smart, like, way to look at it. To be they're like, because he knows, like, I may not be like the king traitor, like Rob or something like that, but like, I do know that, like, I provide enough.
Yes, he provides a service.
He provides enough, like, strategy to where, like, a lot of people are constantly stealing me for one-on-one conversations.
He knows,
and I've been right multiple times.
He knows that he's doing
kind of
well.
like, I know that I'm kind of an asset here or a danger. So, like, if I'm still around, that means someone trusts me and thinks that we're homies. So it's a great way to kind of break down, like, why you're still around.
And I would have never thought of this. He's very smart. And so he immediately is thinking Carolyn or Danielle, because we find out that those are the two people that he's really close to in the house and who he, like, fully trusts, and they say they trust him. And we didn't see this as much, but we find out later that, like, him and Danielle, he's like, Danielle's been my rock in the house the entire time. And Carolyn's been the one who, like, he loves and they connect. And I think he has a soft spot for Carolyn for sure. You know, Tom's running around telling Gabby, it's Dolores, man.
He's always had it out for Dolores since day one. It's so funny. It's like,
because
why?
Dolores is Bravo.
Right.
And Dolores is connected to Ariana. He wants Chriselle gone. He wants Dolores gone.
It's really
the two
funny.
people that he, with no evidence, has come
Dolores
for.
has shown zero signs.
The two
and he, the whole time,
people
he's like, she's a traitor.
Are Dolores and Chriselle, and they're both connected to his ex-girlfriend.
And they just keep voting for themselves. It's so funny. No one else is even talking about either of them, and they just keep voting for them. The whole, like, they're like, it's zero votes for anyone else, and Dolores and Tom just keep voting for each other the whole time. It's like, what is, like, we get it. You guys hate each other, but, like, at some point you got to join in on the damn game.
It's just completely personal. But yeah, so Dylan's figured this out. He's like, it's got to be somebody I trust. So I think it's probably not Gabby.
Yeah.
Because, so he pulls Gabby and he's like, I know at this point you would have murdered me.
Right.
Because I keep coming for you.
And we're not
she's
super
like,
close. And Gabby, he says Gabby's smart. This is the first, like, this is when he kind of comes out and he goes, Gabby's really smart.
Yes. Which she is a brilliant,
Gosh,
she's a brilliant scientist of a woman.
Is.
And she lets him know. She's like, yeah, 1000%. You voted for me like 3 times when no one else has.
Yeah.
Obviously, you would be gone at this point. And so he's like, I think that we should work together. And then Gabby delivers the most iconic ITM ever, where she was like, mark my words, girls, they always come back.
She's like, he never showed me any attention. And
but
now
they always come back, girls. They always come back. Mark my words.
She's my favorite.
We need a full Gabby reality TV show. I need a Gabby and Robbie reality TV
Just
show.
her
Their
clips
relationship
from her podcast are legendary.
I mean, she's
amazing.
The only thing that's, like, really holding me up through this emotionally, the loss of Tom Sandoval, is Gabby. If Gabby goes at this next roundtable, I'm like, I don't even watch anymore. Like, Gabby, oh God, what an absolute queen. Okay, so that's when then Gabby lets Dylan know that she's like, hey, I'm sus of Danielle.
Yeah.
And he says that Danielle's his closest ally in the house. So now he's kind of stewing a little bit. And then he talks to Carolyn, and Carolyn's like, trust me, for sure Danielle's a traitor. You know, Brittany and Danielle have their conversation. And that's when we see Danielle crying. Because they're crying about, Brittany and Danielle are crying about their connection.
Yeah.
Brittany's like, I don't know what I would have done if you had gone. They came into this house mortal enemies. Apparently now they're best friends. And then Danielle's crying in the ITMs about the guilt that she's feeling. And she really wanted her to be a traitor because she didn't want to have to deceive her.
Yeah.
Which I will say Danielle follows up on her word.
Sure.
She does follow up on her word there. So this next mission we can call human chess.
Yeah.
It's serving Harry Potter, where the traitors earlier were asked questions about the group that they had to then, you know, give a name to. And then the rest of the group has to figure out who the traitors, the name that the traitors gave.
Yeah.
And if they're correct, they win money. etc. We also have a moment with Kate and Parvati are back.
Yeah, they come in. Yeah,
some of the queens of the Traitors are back. They have some very entertaining side conversations.
They do have some entertaining side. I don't really understand the point of it. It was kind of random. They kind of come in, sit down, said a couple words, and then left. Like they weren't even a part of the game. They weren't like doing anything in the game.
It's for clicks.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they'd be a part of the game somehow, but they just kind of sat down and made a couple comments and then left. But
it's
whatever.
for clicks. But the first question is, who is slithering under the radar?
Right.
The Traitors say Brittany. Danielle's like, I got to say Brittany because it was mentioned at the Roundtable.
Yeah.
And the group guesses Brittany.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess Brittany.
And that traitor piece moving, by the way, so creepy.
The theaters.
The theater of this show is
fantastic.
unbelievable.
Also, the games get so bizarre. Like their games, like half the time I have to rewind. I'm like, how does this work? What the hell are they talking about? They get so technical with these games
because they care more about the theater of it.
Yeah, it's very theater. And
Which
I'm like, you have to lift this thing and move it to the left, and it's like, what is the point of this game? But this was a very good one.
I appreciate the theater of.
No,
all
the
these
theater
games.
is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good. Mm-hmm. They have production quality. Like they spend money on these games.
Serious cash. And then they've got, when it's right, they have fire exploding behind them.
They got some money in this show.
Like, wow. The next question is, who is the biggest threat to the Traitors?
Yeah.
So the Traitors, Danielle's like, I think it's going to be Brittany. Like we have to say Brittany.
Yeah.
So they say Brittany, but of course, Tom Sandoval steps up and he says, I'll vote for myself.
Yeah.
Because I know that I am the big.
There was only two, right? There was only two options for like big ego, like votes.
Yeah.
And this was one. And then the second one, what was the second one? It was like the rat, or no, it was like
the leader of the pack.
The leader of the pack. So it was like
of which Tom Sandoval voted for himself for both of them.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's so funny about it. It was like there was two options to be like, you're the badass, and he's just like, guys, I'll do it. It's me.
He goes, I'll sacrifice myself for the greater good of the group.
And everyone kind of both times look at him like, sure, dude, whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's so funny.
He pushed for himself so hard.
He stopped playing the game.
He fully stopped playing the game.
He just wanted to be known as a badass.
Yes. And he pushed for himself so hard that for the question of who's the biggest threat to the Traitors, they were like, sure, Tom. Whatever. Go ahead. Yeah. Just take it. We all know in our hearts we're like, it's Dylan.
Right.
At this point, it's Dylan.
Because at the end, they're like, okay, we can't. Like, this is too far, Tom.
It's gonna take too long.
And then it was Tom, and he's like, I told you.
I know, but the first one, though, it wasn't. So, initially they said that the biggest threat, they said, was Brittany.
Sure.
And they put Tom down as it, but she was shook.
Yeah, she was shook.
And Danielle did this on purpose. Yeah. Now, Danielle, the way she played this game,
this was smart. This is genius. Where she really stepped up in her gameplay in this way, and it was like you really saw the difference between Carolyn and Danielle.
This was genius because what this did is Brittany's now like, okay, the Traitors think I'm the biggest threat, so now I'm nervous, and then Danielle can use this as a like, well, if Carolyn's one of the Traitors, of course, because you're best friends with me. Carolyn said I lied about this, which I didn't. I mean, there's so many things she could use to convince Brittany.
The fact that she convinced Carolyn to put Brittany down twice, and that Carolyn didn't like in her brain go, this is a red flag.
Carolyn really biffed this game in a few ways.
Because then Carolyn starts talking about, I'm the one that no one listens to. The next one was
Carolyn biffed this in numerous ways because, first of all, Danielle went in and she said, okay, obviously the money is not the important thing in this. I need to play this correctly because this is a way that people could start perceiving who the Traitors are. Yes. Of course, we see Dylan, who's eyeballing Carolyn and Danielle the entire time to be like, oh, I can get answers from this. So Danielle's thinking about the game. Carolyn goes in and she goes, we need to get the money for the group. And so she's trying to help
answer
them
her
give
own
the
questions.
like, Carolyn, no.
I know that was when you really saw like she's out of her depth. She should not be a traitor. It was just that she was trying to answer the questions.
And she went hard for the next one, which is who's the leader of the pack. And Danielle, and this made me laugh so hard, Danielle and Carolyn chose Tom because they both said, well, Tom's going to say he's the leader.
Yes,
so that
was funny. Yeah.
And Tom, of course, right away says it's me. The group is like, it's Dylan.
Yeah, of course.
Dylan is the leader. But then Carolyn, that's when she starts to really start biffing
unravel.
She's like, no, I really think it's Tom. And she's defending Tom. She's like, no, Tom had this idea. Yeah. Tom did this. And everyone's kind of looking at her like,
why do you know the answers to all these?
And also, why are you...
Yeah, out of nowhere.
The biggest issue was, why are you saying that Tom's the leader of the pack.
See, and this was the downfall of Carolyn 100% was because before this, people were really suspecting Danielle. People were like, it was kind of consensus was like, I think Danielle's the traitor.
Before this mission, the group was was basically like, we're going to try to get Danielle out. And then we go to
the rat one, which is the one that no one kind of listens to, whatever. And she's like, guys, I'm the one that no one listens. So she keeps getting the answers right, talking too much. Carolyn also is classically the one that like doesn't say a lot about the strategy, and then every once in a while might say something. She's talking the most she's ever talked about all of a sudden. She's getting all the answers technically right. This is where Dylan then goes, something's up with Carolyn.
Well, and not just Dylan. By the way, when the chess piece for the leader of the pack was a wolf, Tom Sandoval was like, it feels fitting because
this was so good.
I've always felt like a lone wolf.
I've always felt like a lone wolf was an iconic line.
But it wasn't.
Him and Grant should hang out. Both lone wolves.
Yes. I immediately was like, oh, Grant
where's
and Tom.
his tattoo?
They've got the lone wolf. But they end up, so the group chooses Dylan and the answer is Tom. And Tom's like, I knew that I was the leader of the pack the entire time. But then Dolores right after looks at Carolyn and she says, well, Carolyn, you were really on it. You were the only one. You said, I think it's Tom. And Carolyn says, I didn't say that. And I'm like, oh, Carolyn.
Once
and
she
said like
back,
3 times, I didn't say that.
And everybody's like, yeah, we heard you say it.
We literally, it came out of your mouth numerous times that you thought it was Tom. And then Carolyn, and then our Dolores was like, don't worry, I'm not accusing you of anything. And Carolyn's like, starting to spiral. And that's when Dylan was like, what's going on? And then, like you said, the one whose voice is most irrelevant.
Yeah.
And Carolyn put herself down, which again.
It wasn't even putting herself down. She was like fighting for it. She's like, guys, I always say that no one listens to me. And everyone's like, okay.
But even her putting herself down in the first place, Danielle was like, great. Yeah. No eyes on me. Because Because it's an obvious move that a traitor would say my voice is the most irrelevant.
Yes.
That's a traitor move.
She just played right into Danielle's hands.
Just played right in.
Carolyn just should have been quiet. Just should have agreed with everyone and been quiet like half the other group was.
I know. Well, after the mission is over, Dylan's officially off Danielle, and he's on to Carolyn. He's bringing up her defensiveness. And I mean, we see Tom, Iva, and Carolyn having like a chit chat. And when Carolyn removes herself, Tom's like, I think we have more evidence for Dolores.
Everyone's like, will you shut up,
Carolyn
dude?
was like, what about Danielle? And he's like, I think it's Dolores. But Iva asked Tom, he's like, do you think Carolyn could do it? Like, and by the way, it just makes me so sad. They're all like, Carolyn could never. I was like, do you think Carolyn could do it? And Tom says, no, that's why I don't think she's a traitor.
If she's a traitor, she deserves like an Academy Award.
They all just think so little of her.
I know, so mean.
And she's done a great.
She's done a great.
She's the big shocker.
Survived. She survived.
And she's the big shocker. She's the one that no one suspected until she started to now spiral and panic, and maybe is not acting as the best traitor as she should be because she's panicking about Danielle. I mean, when Carolyn and Dylan sit down, she asked Dolores to leave, which was a bad move. Dolores pops in and Carolyn's like, can you go? And I'm like, oh. Dolores hits me as the type of person. She's a housewife.
Yeah.
She hits me as the type of person that it's like grudge held. I don't trust you anymore. You should have let Dolores in and have this conversation. You could have earned her trust as you're sitting there crying to Dylan about how you're struggling.
You just change it a little bit when she walks in. You don't go, by the way, we're going after, Danielle, right? You just go, I don't know, you think we're just like tripping out. Do you have any ideas?
Dylan says it's going to break his heart if it's between them. But Carolyn sticks to this. She said, if you're a faithful, why would you lie? And it's a good argument.
It's the only argument.
But the problem with that argument is that you have to believe that it is a lie in the first place.
Right. No, it's always, it's just been her word against hers.
Exactly.
So
it is a good argument if other people knew for sure that it was a lie. Because it was a lie.
Exactly. If she had been exposed.
Yes.
But it wasn't exposed. It was just her word against hers. So that was tough.
Even though I will tell you, Carolyn had a good moment with Dylan when she's trying to convince Dylan. And she said, if Rob was saying this, would you believe him? And Dylan's like, yeah.
Basically being like, I know that my voice doesn't have as much weight, which was sad.
And she's like, this has been my whole life. Like, I need somebody to listen to me. And Dylan's like,
I do love how both Danielle and Carolyn just play the sad,
played the sad card to
with
Dylan.
him. They don't even use much logic with him. They're just like, please.
because they know
They
that
both
Dylan
just try to play on his nice side.
They know that Dylan has a soft heart.
And then even at the very end, they just beg. They're just like,
Dylan, God, please.
Dylan, I love you, please. That's like their final argument.
But then we have the final katana moment, which is when Iva, Danielle, and Dolores are sitting together. And Iva, by the way, Iva is the harbinger of all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, Iva is the one who, I don't know if you've noted this, in almost every single episode, he's the deliverer of the message to end someone's position, where he goes, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but
they're talking about you.
They're talking about
dude,
you.
You just ruined the whole possibility.
Come on, man.
He always says it to the person that like everyone's thinking about. It's like giving them an opportunity to defend themselves.
Yes, you're giving them time to create an argument
Yes,
so that it's not
weird.
organic. I'm like, Iva, what are you literally
why are
doing?
you doing that?
You are going to get more of a real response if they don't know and they have to come up on the spot with defending themselves. You've created now strategy for them.
Yes, it's
They're
like-
going in prepared because of
then
you,
he
Iva.
votes against them. It's like telling your enemy, "I'll be there at 2 p.m. to fight you in a battle." It's like, what? It's like, dude. It's like, we've devised a plan to siege the city at 1 a.m. in the morning. And he's like, by the way, we'll be there at 1 a.m. And you're like, dude.
I want it to be a more interesting battle
Yeah,
if you
it's
know
like,
my
what the
exact
hell,
time and
dude?
location. But he tells Danielle that Carolyn's throwing her name out there.
Yeah.
And Danielle looks in the camera in ITMs and she goes, "Oh, it's on."
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. She's like, "I'm going to bring it all down." And she has mentioned earlier to Dolores.
Yeah.
She said, "I want you to think about something and remember something at the round table. All the traitors who we've gotten out are all very like aggressive and intense during the round table.
Yeah.
Remember that. Remember that."
And that's
then,
where it was super smart because Carolyn was talking a lot about Danielle and Danielle never really said much about Carolyn.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that she didn't make it look like I got to get Carolyn out. It was like she let Carolyn kind of bury herself by talking a lot about Danielle.
I do want to have a little asterisk moment though, because when Danielle said that to Dolores, and then in the round table, she says again, "Hey, I want everybody to remember that the traitors seem to get quite aggressive and intense at this table." The next round table after this one of her arguments about Gabby is she goes, "I know one of the traitors is going to be some like sweet, quiet girl next door." And no one called her out on that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the whole time, I go, "Oh, so last week, your defense is that the traitors are going to be really intense and aggressive at the round table. And now this week you're saying, I know a traitor is someone who's going to be like a girl
Right.
next door." I'd be like, hold on.
There's
I wish
so many slip-ups
I
that I'm
wish
like, how is no
someone
one
would have
grabbing
caught. I
this?
get in the moment though, your adrenaline's
Sure,
pumping.
sure.
But then the other thing that she said to Iva, she was like, "Do you remember the detective Columbo?" I don't know who this is, but she's like, he never.
It's like an old show.
Okay, she's like, no one ever suspected him because that he was smart because he acted
Kind
dumb.
of a bumbling idiot in the show,
Yeah.
but he was actually brilliant.
She's like, "Yeah, so think about that." And I was like, indeed, I know Detective Columbo.
I'm aware of
You're
him.
saying that it's Carolyn.
Yeah.
So then when we get to the round table,
Yeah.
Iva,
Iconic. He never disappoints. He's like, I know there are two women that are out of the kitchen and should be making my food, but instead they're possibly traitors. You know, women, their devious traitor ways. Like, he's always here for the quick little sexist line that just like out of nowhere he'll be like, well, you know, you women, you're emotional and bursts are out of control. We have to contain you. And this time, then we know the traitors, the devious women, and most likely the biggest liars in the house. Like he always has this old English sexism that he just comes out of nowhere, and everybody goes, all right, fucking chill.
okay, Iva.
Like no, you know what I mean? Like out of nowhere with no evidence.
You know what I realized
What?
too about Iva? Who are his two best friends in the house? The two hottest guys.
Yeah,
Sam and Dylan.
You know how we are, gentlemen. The three hotties.
He's besties with the two
Yeah.
hottest men, and I'm like, part of me is like, yeah, you get that, Iva. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we love to see it, we support, we love, but like, can the misogyny chill just a tad, dude?
He's like, I don't need these women blowing up my vibe here. All right, I'm making ground.
God. He says, "I think two traitors are left, and they are both girls."
And everybody's like, what? I mean, you're right, but you know, not for the reasons you think you're right.
And everyone just goes, "Iva, this isn't important. We need to worry about the
Hush
one."
up now, woman.
Like, we need to worry about the one traitor right now. We can figure that out later,
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, yeah.
But Carolyn right away comes out. She comes for Danielle. And she
Yeah.
says right away, there's no reason that a faithful would lie. And Danielle, of course, it's just her word against her word. She's like, you did lie. You did say that about Brittany. Or it's not a lie. You did say that about Brittany. And then Danielle says something so problematic and so not okay.
Yeah.
Danielle goes, you act silly and dumb. You Forrest Gump a lot. And my jaw was on the floor. I was like, that is so not, like, cannot believe that someone didn't say, like, you cannot say that. That's not okay. And so then she's coming for her intelligence, but saying, like, it's an act.
Yeah.
So you act silly and you act stupid, but it's fully an act. And Carolyn looks at Dylan and she goes, you saw my season. Is this an act or is this who I am? And sweet Dylan was like, no, one of my favorite things about you is how you are so authentically yourself.
Yeah, it's brutal to call someone that when you're not like seeing a different, like it's one thing if you're like in the turret and you're like, someone's acting completely different, but like on the show, they completely change their personalities. But if you're basically calling someone dumb and like.
Well, she was saying you're acting like it's an act.
But like you see them when they're not in the turret, like, you know what I mean? Like you're seeing them in every place and they're acting the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it was like a little out of pocket.
I was just more like
man.
the Forrest Gump comment was like so problematic and not okay. It was like, whoa.
That's
dude.
the thing. She's brutal.
Yeah.
Through and through.
And she brings up the mission and she's like, there were so many tells.
Yeah.
Which was true.
True.
She was right. Carolyn fed right into her hand with that one. And she brought up then the whole traitors, they're aggressive. You know, Tom was like, I've never seen Carolyn aggressive. And she's like, well, I'd like to remind you of the time where she came for me at another round table. And when I defended myself, Carolyn got really hot, which she did. She gets, she gets emotional in these moments.
Yeah.
And then Danielle starts crying.
Yeah.
And Carolyn goes, don't fake those tears. And can you imagine how mad you'd be if you were Carolyn? Because you know all those tears are such bullshit.
You know that she's the queen of the fake tears.
And she's just sitting there starting to cry. And then she's like, I haven't mentioned Carolyn's name because I've been scared. I've been scared that she's going to come after me.
Dude. Oh.
It's so brutal.
It was brutal, but I will say Danielle buried
and
Carolyn.
she's Carolyn's the silent assassin. And at this point, Carolyn's like, I'm at a loss. She's like, I literally don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm just being ignored.
Yeah.
Dylan's teary. But then when they do the vote, Iva votes for Carolyn, Dolores votes for Tom.
Yeah, it was just a waste.
Tom votes for Dolores.
I didn't like that. I felt like Tom could have voted for Danielle there.
Well, but Tom really seems to believe this whole time that it's Dolores, but I always don't understand.
But he knows that no one's going to vote for Dolores, so it's a waste. He should have voted, because he even said, like, I don't really see that. I don't think she's the silent assassin. He had a moment there. He could have been.
I know.
Had her back.
You know what, Tom? You're being a shitty friend.
Yeah, that was shitty.
That was a shitty friend move. Apparently, you and Carolyn are like besties in the house. It ended up getting him killed,
and it's like if he would have voted for Danielle, like I think it would have been a stalemate. And it's like,
yeah, what
they would have had to revote
Tom?
and stuff. Yeah,
you're a bad friend.
That was a shitty
are we
move.
Surprised? No,
but I felt bad about that one.
That's no good. Gabby votes for Danielle.
Yes, because she knows. She smells it right.
Our girl Gabby
she's like, something's up with you.
But then Britt votes for Carolyn, and then Dylan votes for Carolyn.
That was brutal.
I understand why Dylan voted for Carolyn. There seemed to be more evidence in the moment stacking up against Carolyn. But
he even said later, he goes, Danielle's arguments were undeniable compared to Carolyn's. So it's like, I think he believed Carolyn at first, but then when she saw she had nothing to say, it was like,
yeah.
What
could you do? Well, Carolyn has her goodbye speech.
Yeah.
Just being a traitor isn't
fun.
Tough. It was like so sad. She was just like, I didn't want to be a traitor. I wanted to come in and have fun. I get judged every day of my life. Oof. It was a heartbreaking speech.
And then the fact that they were right, when she actually was a traitor, really kind of helped brutal. Danielle a lot. Yeah, it was interesting.
Danielle was on the ground hyperventilating and
Which
shaking.
Makes no sense because you voted for her. I don't understand when someone votes for someone and then is like, can't believe that they were right. Like,
I think it's supposed to be like,
I understand when there's like but why was she dropped to the ground like she was devastated that her friend left when in reality you led the charge against her. I think
it was supposed to be a show, because this does happen. It's supposed to be a show of adrenaline where you're like, I hope I'm not wrong, because if I'm wrong, then I went hard.
In my opinion, if I was watching Danielle's reaction, crumpling to the ground, like
I know, I'd be like,
she found out the worst news of her life, I'd be like, but you led the charge against her. So why are you so devastated? Like you saw Brittany.
But technically, Carolyn came for Danielle.
Yes, that's true. But I guess it was like the full. She had multiple times they had gotten into it. I guess for me it was like when Brittany's reaction was like. Everyone was like, whoa. But like her crumpling to the ground to me would have signaled way too much.
Oh, for sure.
Like she went too hard.
Yeah.
Tell of the tells.
Well, Gabby was the one who maybe seemed to sniff it a bit because
she then goes,
they're all praising
traitor on traitor.
They're all praising Danielle and they're like, you did it. And she's like, I just stuck to the facts, which she did to a certain degree. And I think that's why her argument was
solid.
Very good.
And she knew Carolyn didn't have anything on her.
But after the round table, we see Gabby, Britt, and Tom talking, and Gabby, our girl Gabby, she goes, it was giving Bob the drag queen and Rob.
Yeah.
She's like, it was Boston Rob and Bob the drag queen. She said, I think it was some traitor on traitor business.
And
I think it was traitor on traitor. And Brittany is having a moment where she goes, maybe that's why I haven't been murdered. And Brittany's putting 2 and 2 together. She's like, I've been a little suspicious of Danielle sometimes, but it makes sense then why I haven't been murdered because I'm one of Danielle's pawns in this world. So then we have the Traitors turret and Danielle is alone. I have to say, by the way, I think I wonder if Carolyn would have let Brittany come on, if
that would have saved her.
Actually would have saved her because Danielle might have been less focused for a minute on getting Carolyn out. I don't know. I just feel like
I think it was all about Carolyn not speaking up at the game and not trying to get a bunch of people after Danielle. But she shouldn't have attacked her. If she wouldn't have attacked her, I really think because I think if she wouldn't have attacked her, there would have been opportunity for other people to be interesting.
But I think that if Carolyn, if she would have let Brittany come on, Carolyn, because at the top of that episode, everybody was like sus of Danielle. Yeah. Carolyn could have just betrayed both of them. Carolyn could have gone in and been like, it's Danielle and Brittany. Look at them. They're thick as thieves. They started this show off hating each other, you guys. And now they're best friends and they have each other's backs and they won't betray each other. What do you think's going on?
That's a good argument.
Like that, she could have just turned on both of them, gotten both of them out at some point, and then been like the final, because everybody would have been like, Carolyn's a faithful.
Yeah, I agree.
So I wonder, I'm like, I think that was a mistake. Well, Danielle finds out not Carolyn, the ghost of Carolyn comes in. Alan comes in and he's like, you need to recruit an accomplice. So I love the fact, by the way, that they made her recruit somebody because I was really bummed when they didn't recruit somebody. I was like, damn it, this is no fun. I like the recruits. It makes it really, it turns the tables. It makes it interesting.
And the recruit or die thing forces recruitment, obviously.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So in this situation, she's being told she needs to recruit somebody and they can murder somebody because when typically how it goes is if they choose a recruit, then they can't murder and then that everyone knows that someone was recruited. So in this situation, they don't know for sure that someone was recruited. So there's a big question mark, which I like. I think that was a great call on production's part. So of course she invites Brittany. And Brittany, I think, was surprised because she's like, I feel like if it's Danielle, that's such an obvious choice to choose me.
And you could tell that Brittany wasn't like stoked. She was like, I accept.
She accepted.
It was like now it's obvious. Like it was, if I was, because that's the thing about Danielle. She has these weird moments where she's like super loyal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the whole Brittany thing. Like I got to choose Brittany because she's my friend. And it's like, but you've been murdering all your friends. So it's a little bit like. But
I think Danielle, there's a part of her that's like, this reunion and this show is about to be brutal for me.
Everyone's gonna hate her.
I can't do it to everybody. I have to have someone in this who I was faithful to.
This is the moment she should have picked Dylan.
For sure.
Because Dylan is so above board and everyone just goes to him for help that like pick Dylan and like let it.
But there's a worry then that the eyes are going to stick to Danielle because they all say it has to be women. So no one's going to guess that it's Dylan and he'll win. So Danielle, I think there's probably a piece in the back of her mind that she's like, oh, if I have to give it to another woman.
And I could probably get Brittany out.
Yep. Because even though she's saying,
she gets Brittany out,
even though she's saying this whole thing where she's like, I want to go to the end with her. I don't trust her at all. But with that being said,
Or
everybody,
Ivar could have been a good one too.
dude, he would have biffed it immediately. There's
No, but I'm saying
way.
in a good way. Like you could have gotten him out.
True, I guess.
You know what I
the
mean? Like no one
Roundtable
likes
showed that.
him.
Yeah.
So
they
it's like
they just know he's a faithful.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Well, so I though am gonna stand by this. So Danielle pulls Brittany. She's like, we're gonna go to the end of this. And throughout this episode, we see Brittany really hustling to help Danielle. At one point, where later in the episode they find out that Danielle's name is getting thrown around, Brittany is panicking, being like, who can I talk to help protect Danielle? But the moment that Danielle picked Brittany, I have a feeling in my gut, and I felt this about Brittany from the very beginning, that she will betray Danielle.
You have to.
I don't.
If you're Brittany and you don't betray Danielle, you're crazy because you just go, wait a second. She picked me.
Yeah.
Right? And I just watched her betray all her friends and do it in the most wild way ever, like bawling, promising, swearing on her own grandkids, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm Brittany, I'm going, whoa, I need to be very aware of getting betrayed by her. Because up until this time, she's like, you're my friend, you're my friend, you're my friend. But I'm watching how she's selling, getting rid of all her allies. It'd be like being with like one of the like princes in like in olden times, being like, I just watched this prince like take out his entire family, and now he's like, come be my best friend and play Xbox with me. And I'm just like, okay, do you need anything to eat, sir? Like, you know what I mean? Like just watching what he did, you're like, I got it. Like being a friend is scary.
But I agree, but also I don't trust Brittany at all.
But at the same time, I guess just.
But I'm just saying I don't trust
her either. But if I was Brittany, I'd be like,
I think
you've got to get her out of here.
I had that feeling the entire time in my gut. Even when I was watching her like really defend Danielle, I'm like, I don't trust Brittany. I think she's gonna pull a fast one on Danielle. And at the very end, I know I'm jumping ahead, but at the very end of this episode, we're left on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I think Brittany votes against Danielle.
Brittany was the last one. Yeah.
And they might just be trying to. But I do think Brittany had a moment where she thought Dolores was going to vote for Danielle. So it was a little bit like, maybe this is the moment that I get Danielle out.
I don't think it. I think she votes for Ivar because I think that it's too early. And I think she goes, if I get this wrong, I'm screwed in our relationship and it's weird. And she even talks about her loyalty to Danielle. I couldn't vote for her. Like, I don't think she does. That's my guess. I think it would be smart to, but I don't think.
I just have this buzzy feeling in my body that she tries to get Danielle out.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what it is. But they then decide, there's debating who they want to murder. And right away, I have to say, Brittany jumps into traitor role very well.
Yeah.
The logic that she was bringing about like, you got to protect Dylan and Dolores and like why potentially they should get out Tom or Gabby. She's like, Tom and Gabby, they were on to you, so we have to get rid of them. But then she offers the good point that it's like, don't kill Tom because the group could banish him.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, think about it. The people don't like Tom. Dolores keeps voting against Tom. We could convince the group to get Tom out.
Yeah.
So think about that. She was offering good points. But the next day at breakfast, we find out that I was thinking maybe they'd get rid of Iva. I was hoping that they'd get rid of Iva, but they got rid of Tom.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of Tom. Tom loved it. It was Tom.
Yeah, he loved it because he's like,
Tom loved it.
He didn't even care that he's off the game.
No.
He just solidified in his ego, I am dangerous.
When he walked in and he saw that note, he goes, I knew it.
I am hot and interesting and a good singer. And I'm like, what?
And he opened up, by order of the traitors, you've been banished.
And he goes, I knew I was the hot shit.
He said, listen, I saw it coming because, man, I was the best player in this game.
Yeah, everyone else goes like, no, I don't get to play the game. He's like, my suspicions were great. You know, it's like so funny.
And he said, at the end of the day, like, it was great because I didn't know I was going to be so good at this game. Dude,
I was a pleasure to work with. I was hot. I was great. Everybody was talking about my abs. I'm like, what? Obsessed. I mean, couldn't have got on it better.
It was an iconic exit. I thought he was going to get angry. The fact that he lived for it made it more iconic.
He said, I was valued. I was respected. I was a pleasure to work with. And the most threatening of all the guys, he said. You love it. You love to see it. He did one good move the entire season, and he's just like, I'm basically
death to anyone who crosses me.
They're kind of calling me Hades now because I'll drag your ass down to the underworld, man.
Listen, brother, I look
and
like a
while you're
vampire,
sitting
too.
in hell, I'll sing, "Can you take me higher?" That is a seventh circle of hell.
Oh, yeah.
It's Tom Sandoval
On
singing
repeat.
Creed karaoke.
Oh, my God. You want to get... Oh, my God. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
But also noted before it's, announced that Tom is the one that they have offed.
Yeah.
Dylan is like now fully trusting Danielle.
Yeah.
He mentions Gabby to Danielle. He's
Yeah.
like, I've never trusted her. Of course, Danielle's like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And Gabby, though, comes in looking a 10.
Yeah, she was like, I didn't want to get killed off because I really wanted to wear this.
And she looked so damn good. And I get why you wanted to show off that outfit. She looked amazing. But of course, we know that she's suspicious of Danielle. And she makes a comment. She goes, I think all of these trainers are absolute psychopaths. And the fact that they're even just fighting each other. And she kind of looks at Danielle and Danielle goes,
yeah.
Danielle knew Gabby
Yes.
fully onto her. And she picked up on the traitor on traitor fighting. Again, side note, Brittany handling the transition so well. Brittany was sitting at that breakfast, not acting differently at all.
No, that's the key.
Every other traitor that we've seen have transitioned from faithful to traitor acts so obvious
they're
at
panicked.
first.
They're like-
I'd be drenched in sweat. I'd be losing my mind, nervous about how am I acting the same. Brittany, a little scary, so smooth, not different at all.
I will say, Danielle, Brittany, the toxic sisters.
The toxic,
They
the toxic
are
twins.
the toxic twins, dude. They're a little scary. They're a little whoa. You guys are way too good at selling it. This
manipulation.
Thing. Yeah, it's
Alan comes in. So Tom, you actually were faithful.
for once. It's great. What a great line. Well written.
I mean, give the writers more money.
Give the writers
even
a
though I could
bonus for
see
that one.
Alan coming up with that because Alan's
Yeah.
just a saucy minx. And
Yeah.
of course he would have come up with that gorgeous line himself. This is then before the mission. It starts to get a little sweaty in here because we have a few scenes with Gabby and Danielle.
Yeah.
Iconic scenes.
The sit
where
down one was iconic.
The sit down, but at first Danielle just walks in. Gabby's trying to not look at her. She's like, yeah, it's crazy how nerve-wracking this is and how you can't trust anybody. And then Danielle at some point follows. Gabby's sitting alone in a room. Danielle sits down and is trying to power play her so hard. Danielle just sits there like this, like the Godfather, looking straight ahead, not saying a word to Gabby. And Gabby's like, I will not be the one to break in this situation.
Gabby's looks were amazing. She's just like this.
She's
Just rolling her eyes and kind of looking around and giving looking at the camera and that was really funny.
the tension is stiff though.
They just sit there.
They just sit there. And Danielle doesn't even look in her direction. She was trying to be like, just so you know, baby girl, you're done for. She was going full mob boss on Gabby and letting her know that she's not going to get away with whatever coup she's trying to form against her.
100%.
And Danielle also has a conversation with Dolores, puts Gabby's name out there. She's like, wouldn't it be the cutest girl that no one suspects? Dolores is like, I fully trust you. Anything you say, Danielle. But at the same time, we have some people who are, Ivar is suspicious of Danielle. He's like, the way that she was acting, she's saying she's not sleeping, she's on edge. He's like, there's something with that argument that threw me off. And then Gabby was even telling Brittany, she's like, I think there are two traitors left in this house. So Gabby's nailing it. She's like, there are two traitors left, and I think it's Dolores and Danielle. And Brittany is so good. She does not give her much. She goes, interesting, okay. Interesting. And then Brittany runs to Dylan and is like, Gabby never talked to anybody outside of the Bambis, and she didn't give a shit about me until now. And she voted for Danielle. So I think it's Gabby. Very good.
Well played.
Very, very good.
I will say these last two episodes really stepped up the game.
The gaming is getting intense.
The game got a lot better.
The gaming is getting intense. Everybody's falling into their
Yes.
their pace
I
here.
agree.
It's starting to do very well. Well, and then they have the mission, and the mission is, we'll call it deja vu.
A very technical. I was kind of like, what is happening?
I mean, basically,
it's
just
just like a quad there was like 3 sections, and like it was
memory games and gambling and coins. And the point of all these different versions of this game is that the person who walks away having gotten the most money added to the pot gets the gift of being the seer.
Right.
This is a brand new element to the game, which I'm very excited about. And basically the seer gets to choose one person to have a one-on-one with, and that person has to reveal if they're a traitor or a faithful.
Right.
So the person who's the seer is going to know for sure whether someone is a faithful or a traitor.
Yes.
Now, the way that they introduced this made me think that they were going to get this opportunity before this roundtable. I thought that was the whole
point. It was like you're going to get some information before the roundtable.
Which I was bummed out about. But I guess now they're going to know, whoever the seer is going to know before the finale episode. The issue is, of course, Danielle, Brittany are like, we need to get this. And if a traitor gets the seer position, then let's just say Danielle, or let's just say Brittany gets it. Brittany goes, I'm feeling suspicious of Danielle. I'm going to go talk to her.
Boom, done.
And then comes back to the group and goes, you guys, Danielle's a faithful.
Right.
So then everyone's going to believe the seer.
Yeah.
So this is a heavy, and the fact that there are still 2 traitors left in this small group makes the seer, as Dylan said, a very dangerous add-on to this game.
So am I wrong? But like, did I miss something? Like, what's the actual, did they specify what you get if you're the seer exactly?
Yeah, you get to sit down and find out whether someone's a faithful or a traitor.
So just straight up.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you get to ask a question.
No, I'm pretty sure it's like you get...
Like you just get the confirmation someone is a traitor.
You get to learn the player's true identity. So whether
and
they
then
are...
you can report it back.
Correct.
Wow.
And you can lie about it or not.
And use it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
I mean, it's
super interesting.
It's a very interesting twist.
But Dylan, the game was beautiful or whatever, but Dylan picked up and he goes, Danielle is fighting for her life here.
Yes.
Like Danielle wants it bad more than anyone else here. And he goes, that's a red flag.
Yes. And they played the clown memory game. And it was Danielle and Brittany and Dolores from the beginning start getting the most money.
Yes.
They're picking up the most money. That transitions into the doll pull where they pull the doll string and it gives you amount of money and you can keep pulling it. But if you get too greedy, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
I wanted to note this. So Danielle is like, I'm going to keep pulling it. Actually, because I think Danielle lost her money. I don't quite remember. But Danielle's like, I'm just going to keep pulling it and see what happens. They got Danielle to $2,000 before she dipped out. Everybody else who tried to pull past $1,400, they got told.
Well, Dylan got to 16, I think, and then the one after that.
But I'm saying no one got to as much as Danielle. That's producer bullshit.
That is 100%.
That's 100% producer bullshit. The producers are trying to get the traitors the seer position.
Yes.
Because obviously you could even tell by the way when the dolls pulled it, it was someone on a mic being like live, being like, $1,200.
Exactly.
$1,400. It's like the fact that they didn't give that opportunity to any of the other people. That's production.
100%.
I think this was the very first game that bothered me because I feel like
it felt really rigged.
Typically in this show, you don't feel producer involvement in the games as much.
Right.
You feel it in the way of like, oh, they end up letting them get like probably like a few minutes longer so that they can get the money or whatever, but not where it's like straight up helping craft their story. And I felt like this was a foul. I felt like this was a foul on the production end.
Agreed.
And I never say that with this show. But it was a foul.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have hooked Danielle up like that because they clearly did.
Yeah, I agree.
Then they have the gold bags that are apparently like filled with poop. Dylan was dry heaving, reminded me of you.
I would have.
His response.
You guys, I can't do poop.
He can't do
poop. I can
poop.
do vomit, but I can't do poop.
Yeah.
So it's like.
When he's like picking the dog's poop up, Evan dry heaves, you guys. Like heaves.
There's something about, but if someone like vomits all over my floor, I'm like, I can help you out. When Ember, gets sick, something happens, no problem. I'm the one that handles that. No problem. The poop, guys. I don't know if it's like some sort of, thing in my past, but the poop
past.
Maybe I worked in some sort of, in my past life, I worked in some
a
sort
manure.
of poop farm or something, but I can't do the poop. It is just immediate. So if I had to dig my hands in poop, I'd be like, I guess you guys are getting the money.
But the way Dylan dry heaved, almost identical to you, where you're doing that coughing sound.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's like, it's real. It's not like, this is gross. It's like, I can't, you're tearing up from the.
Oh, it's so disgusting. Well, the game wraps and we're not told who the seer is. It looks like it's going to be either Brittany, Danielle, or Dolores.
Yeah.
So if Brittany or Danielle get their hands on it, the faithfuls are screwed, I think. Dolores, also not a great idea, I think, for her to have it, because God bless Dolores, but so far, game hasn't been gaming. I could see Dolores using it on somebody who it'd be like, you know what, I just want to confirm that Dylan is the love bug that we think he is. And then we confirm that Dylan's a faithful. It's like, yeah, no shit, he's
just a quick side note. Dolores, in my opinion, has been the most, how do you make it this far without ever really being a part of the game? It's kind of amazing.
I know.
No one's ever brought her name up other than Tom, just because that's a personal thing. But like, Dolores has not been a part of really taking anybody out, nor has she been suspected at all, nor has she been a part of conversations that are influential, nor has she been a part of it. Like, no one, she's basically has perfected the art of the, like, if they kind of forget I'm here, I'll just kind of keep going.
It's like Iva. Iva's the exact same way. It's Iva and Dolores.
Yeah, but even more so because people like don't like Iva. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of like, he says kind of outlandish shit sometimes, and people are like, some of the ladies are like, this guy sucks. But Dolores has truly flown under the radar at the highest level.
Yeah, I do feel like she's pretty outspoken.
But what she says doesn't is never controversial.
I think that Tom did her the greatest favor from day
By
one
them
coming.
having beef?
I think day one, Tom Sandoval coming for Dolores did her the greatest favor because immediately that everyone goes, that's a faithful.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh God, poor Dolores. She lost all the housewives in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All the housewives were gone. Dolores is the only one left. She's a sweet lady.
Agreed.
Right. And Tom's coming for her throat every week. So I feel like, and she's very she's very amicable.
No, she's very chill.
She's chill, and she's nice to have.
That's what I mean.
She seems like she's nice to have around, and so it's like she's
under the radar vibes.
She's done it. She's really done it. So after the mission, Gabby and Dylan sit down, and she basically gives Dylan the 411 of why she thinks it's Danielle.
Yeah.
She's like, listen, and she brings up the room, and we thought the room had been forgotten. She's like, I heard Danielle coming out of the secret room with Carolyn, Jeremy. That was the last name that Jeremy gave before Jeremy was murdered. Carolyn and Danielle were giving traitor on traitor. It was so personal, and she knew so much information that she shouldn't know. They weren't that close in the house.
It was super personal. Everybody's crying and angry. And
again, they weren't like buddies in the house. So it's like, why was this so personal? And Dylan, who had been full team Danielle, looks at Gabby and goes, that's a lot of evidence. Which I respect about Dylan. Dylan is like, he's really, he votes with what he believes.
And what I like is he respects Gabby's intelligence.
Yes, he does.
So he goes, Gabby doesn't do the emotional thing. She just speaks right up. Because then Danielle comes in right after and goes, what are you thinking? And he goes, to be honest, you. And she's like, how could you do this to me and betray our friendship? She immediately goes into like, I'm playing on his heartstrings.
She was trying to make him feel so bad.
Oh my God.
She was like, I am so hurt
right now.
How could you?
And that would be a huge red flag to me.
I'd be like, this is a game. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why this is personal. It's what
Ivor said, to Brittany later when she goes, I don't think I could ever vote against Danielle. And he's like, first of all, he throws in like, sweetheart,
Of course.
But he goes like, this is a game. Remember, like, this isn't about allies. That's another big thing that I would see as a red flag between Brittany and Danielle is that they keep bringing up like how they're like, I could never vote against her. And I'm like, the second you say I could never vote against her, I'm going, well, that's a problem.
I'm like, I totally have respect for people being like,
it's hard for me. I love her.
Or also like, I'm not going to because I trust this person and you haven't provided enough evidence for me.
But it's never that. It's always like, but I would feel so bad. It's like, that's a horrible place to be in.
No, Danielle went hard on the heartstrings with Dylan. And he tells her, he goes, I'm not gunning for you or anything, but I'm letting you know that you're going to get brought up.
Yeah.
I was bummed that Dylan said that to her. Because if he wouldn't have, I think Brittany and Danielle thought that they had Gabby on lock and that Danielle wasn't being talked about.
Completely agree.
And I think they thought that they had numbers, and I think they would have gotten rid of Danielle. Because then they have a little chat, and that's when they go on full like, all right, talk to everybody in the house.
Also, I think that they didn't show this, I don't think, but the whole voting for Ivar thing that came out of nowhere.
That had to have been something that was discussed.
I think they talked about it. I think they both said, let's just go for Ivar, and it might cancel out some other votes or something like that. Because it felt like a left turn.
Yeah.
And it was really smart. Let's get into the roundtable because I feel like...
but I will say this before Dolores had a conversation with Danielle, I think. It was either Danielle or Brittany. And maybe it was Brittany. But Dolores, they were like, hey, we think it's Gabby.
Yeah.
And Dolores was like, I'm going to hear Gabby's case.
Right.
And I think that's when we didn't see it, but they then chose to go the Iva route because they're like, if Dolores has any sort of empathy towards Gabby, then we need to do the Iva thing. And I think probably Dolores mentioned Iva to Danielle or Brittany. And then they went in that direction, which, by the way, brilliant.
Smart,
brilliant
man.
To like last minute be like, you know what? Even though we know Gabby's going to come for Danielle, we're going to go with what Dolores says and we're going to go vote
and
Iva.
We're not going to make it
spin
look like we have a vendetta against anyone who votes against us. Because it wasn't like Danielle was going after Gabby. And so for her to then all of a sudden just be like anti-Gabby, it was like oh, well, I'm just trying to get you out because you're trying to get me out. But the fact that they went different showed made her look more innocent in my mind.
Yes. Well, the roundtable starts and Brittany immediately is like, Gabby, she starts, Gabby, you kept to yourself and just to your group. And that's something strange because you'd think that you'd be fearful that you want to get to know people. And
not a bad argument. It wasn't bulletproof. Well, she didn't have anything to say against Gabby.
Exactly.
But if that's all you have, it's not a horrible one to be like, it's kind of a safe move just to hang out with your couple friends.
It's a safe one. But then Gabby immediately is like, well, Danielle, you presented an amazing case. And I think you may know these things because you saw them firsthand because you were giving me Bob and Rob vibes. And Dylan is like, there was a chance you both were telling the truth. He's like, you're right. Danielle, your argument was incredible. There's a chance both of you were telling the truth in the situation. And Danielle, then it goes full Gabby versus Danielle, but it was so brilliant to watch because Danielle does I think the traitor would be the girl next door. I voted for Boston Rob not once but twice, and Gabby said, so did I. And Gabby Gabby came in and just crushed the round table. Like Gabby, I was standing on my feet because I wasn't sure I was going to go down. But Gabby just, everything that Danielle said, she goes, well, if you're going to go off of my personality, I suppose it'll just be another strong woman who, because of her personality, gets cast out for the wrong reasons. And she's like, you and I are kind of in the same situation. Because she was then bringing up the idea of Nikki. Sierra, they got removed because of their personality. So it's like, well, I guess we're just going to do that again with me, huh? So we're going to talk about me being the girl next door and that I, have this type of personality. And so you're going to get rid of me because of that. Another strong woman. Oh, dude.
She's like, you can't use that shit on me.
But then she was also, what I loved about Gabby too, is that she stayed respectful.
Yeah.
She was like, Danielle.
She doesn't do the Danielle low blows.
No, she goes, Danielle, you had a great argument. You and I are on the same page. If we get removed just because of our personality, it's a strong woman getting cast out.
Because she did the same thing to, Danielle did the same thing to Gabby. Being like, I know you play dumb, basically. I know you're just you act like the girl next door, but I think you're really intelligent, which is a total diss. It's fucked up. It's
no,
jeez, bro. She keeps doing this to everyone, being like, I know you're just a dumb idiot, but you're actually smart, which is a backhanded compliment.
Yep.
And Gabby was not there for it.
No, she wasn't. You saw that in her face where she was like, nope.
She's like, don't you try that with me.
And the only thing I was bummed about is I wish when Gabby sat down with Dylan, she was like, argument. She had 5 solid points and she didn't bring them up at the round table. Yeah. And I think, of course, she got thrown off because Danielle then kind of wouldn't let her speak. Every time Gabby was trying to say something, Danielle would cut her off and Gabby was like, can I speak now? So I think then she had to shift the argument a little bit, but I wish she would have been like, everybody be quiet. Yeah. I have some points to make and said exactly what she said to Dylan, because I think if she would have gotten out what she said to Dylan, I think we could have convinced Dolores. I think Dolores
I
could have
agree.
gotten convinced
I
because I
agree.
think Dolores didn't know who to vote for. Hence, then Dolores brings up, she's like, well, actually, Iva, I'm looking at you because Bob the drag queen voted for you twice. Interesting pull.
Was from a long time ago.
But then she also brought up too, she's like, also the fact that Dorinda came at you night one and she was gone the next day. Bob the drag queen, who's a traitor, voted for you out of nowhere twice. She's like, something to consider, especially that we've seen then that the traitors are going against each other. Not a bad point, but it was still like trying to reach for who could be left. Iva is like, you may want to get the token Brit out, but it's pointless.
Just because they did kind of pull some bullshit with Iva. They're like, he's a royal. And he's like, what the fuck? It was,
well, I mean, you never trust a
but
royal.
I'm just
so
saying
I
it
get
was
that.
kind of a bad argument. To his credit, it
But
was like
but because of that, I think that they could have convinced. If Gabby would have just brought up a couple more of those arguments, I think Gabby could have gotten Dolores.
I agree.
But then when we get the vote, Iva votes Danielle, Dolores votes Iva. Whoa, Danielle votes Iva. And then she does the whole Gabby, I'm not going to attack you. Brings up the Bob the drag queen thing. Gabby votes for Danielle. Britt votes for Iva. Their brains are connected, AKA they probably talked about this before. If they didn't, genius gameplay that she hopped on. Because they couldn't have talked about that before. So their brain chemistry is connected if they didn't. So they must have spoken about it before.
They had to have. Such a left turn.
But then Dylan votes for Danielle.
Yeah.
Whew. Alan says, it's a draw. You get one more minute to make your final case, Danielle and Iva. But if it's another draw, we leave it up to chance, and it's a coin toss. I like that. I like that. It's cool. Like,
so if basically if they vote, so it's down to Brittany. If Brittany votes for Iva,
yes.
Then it's a tie.
I think so.
It was because Danielle had 2 votes and Ivar had 1. So because Gabby and Dylan both voted for Danielle,
and Dolores voted for Iva. So if Brittany votes for Iva,
then it's a coin toss.
It's a coin toss.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I love it.
That'd be a great way.
Wild.
So I hope she votes for Iva just for that, because it would be epic to have a coin toss. But she should have in that moment been like, she's gonna vote for Ivar. The 2 are gonna vote for Danielle. I need to get rid of Danielle. But she's got that weird loyalty thing where she's like, ugh.
And I think she votes for Danielle.
I think she votes for Iva, and I think it goes to a coin toss.
I think she votes for Danielle because there's the moment that we see. So Iva basically says nothing in his plea.
Yeah, he's just like,
literally
I'm
nothing.
Faithful, you're going to regret this.
Danielle is like,
for her
she
life
literally
on her
just
knees.
goes, Dylan.
She's like,
she
Dylan,
ignores everybody.
Yeah.
And she goes, Dylan, please. I'm begging you because I'll stand there and you'll have the biggest regret of your life. I'm like, wow. If she turns around and ends up getting kicked out, that's going to be wild. And they find out that she's a traitor.
Brittany
after
should
that.
have read in this moment, I got to get rid of her. But if she's got that weird friend thing going on.
But listen, there was the moment where Brittany mentioned where she goes, Dolores looked at Brittany and then Danielle. And when it happened, when Brittany mentioned it, I was like, is Brittany reading that Dolores is like, get Danielle out? And I think that's what Brittany was reading. So I think Brittany panicked and wrote Danielle's name down because I was like, okay.
Like, we're all going to do it.
We're all going to do this. And if I don't,
I'll be the guilty one.
I'm going to look guilty because if it's Danielle, we're going to find out that she's a traitor. But if I say she's a traitor and she leaves, then I'm going to look innocent. And then they might think there's no traitors left and they won't come for me. So I think Brittany panicked and thought Dolores was going to vote for Danielle because when Dolores said Iva, Brittany looks at Dolores and goes like shocked. It looked like Brittany was convinced that Dolores was going to vote for Danielle. Yeah. And I think Brittany voted for Danielle so that she could pull off not looking suspicious and continue. Because think about this. If they get rid of Danielle and Brittany's the final traitor, she might be able to fully pull this thing off.
Yeah.
Because they're not really suspicious of her. And if she votes against Danielle, they'd be like, wow, it was really hard for her to vote against Danielle because that's her friend. But like she was convinced and felt suspicious. And, and then who knows? And then the eyes might go to Gabby. They might be like, it's another traitor on. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But Brittany has a decent chance. Anyway, we were left on a total cliffhanger that was
Great cliffhanger.
It was a great clip. I was pissed about it though. I was
Yeah,
like,
I know.
so we never see who Brittany votes for. And Dylan, by the way, voted for
Danielle
twice.
Yeah.
He's sticking by it.
Great couple episodes.
Great few episodes. Season's been
Stressed.
absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
It's
really
been,
good.
The
It's
season,
been betrayal right away.
it's also been chaos. Like the Traitor,
Really hard to read.
it was like bad moves for a
Yeah.
while, but then some good moves. It's chaotic.
But
The
it's been
energy's
very
nuts.
unsettling the whole time. Like you've never
Yeah.
really settled into a thing. It's
No.
been everyone's cutting each other constantly. It's been the battle of the traitors against each other the whole time. Really good season.
It's fantastic. But family, tune in on Wednesday for a recap of Grant's
Yes.
hometown episode.
We're already there, guys.
And then we will come out with, I guess we'll be covering the Traitors finale and I think reunion, not
Yeah.
next week, but the following week.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll be jumping into Love is Blind, which I'm excited about.
Love
and then
it.
I think Temptation Island after. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got some good stuff
Good
cooking.
stuff, y'all. Love y'all.
Love you so much, family.
Yes.
And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Perfect. Kisses. Bye. Bye.